Hey, so this is a new format that I'm doing in which it'll just be me talking to you like this, sharing what's been going on for me. In this video, we'll be talking about my quite recent experience with burnout. I had this sense of I'm wasting my life because I'm not accomplishing the things I want to accomplish. What I thought was causing it at the time, how I went about solving it, and the answers that I actually found, which, spoiler alert, were not what I thought they were, and how I'm going about implementing the lessons that I learned in my everyday. And if this sounds like something that you might enjoy, something that's up your street, I hope you continue to watch this video. And without further ado, let's get into it. I spent most of last year, 2023, pretty burnt out, and I didn't realize how burnt out I was until I was in knee-deep. A little bit of context, I'm a creative in the performing arts industry. I'm a singer, actor, voiceover artist, and I have been trying to break into musical theatre for the best part of the last decade, while at the same time making my money with voiceover work and voice acting and the occasional singing gig. And last year, what I did was I said yes to way too many things. Projects that are exciting, projects that I wanted to do, projects that were building a business with a friend and my YouTube channel, which I'm still doing, as you can see, and a couple of other things, while at the same time, you know, doing voiceover work, being in a partnership, having a pet to take care of, having friends and family, as, you know, all of us do. But I had stuffed my life so full with things to do that it got to a point in October, November, where every new notification, message, email had me so overwhelmed that I would start crying. And I genuinely felt broken. Like, I felt like something in me had snapped. And I was just a broken human. And I laugh about it now, but anyone who's ever been burnt out knows it's not fun. I wouldn't recommend it. I knew that I was unhappy, and because I was as unhappy as I was stuffing my life full of things in the hope that one of them would make me happy, one of them would give me purpose, one of them would make me feel fulfilled. And surprise, surprise, none of them did. What I ended up doing was realizing that I needed something to change, and I didn't know what that something was, and all of the unhappiness that I was feeling was leading me to all these big questions, because the performing arts industry is the reason I live in London, and me not being as successful in the area of the performing arts industry that I want to be successful in, which is musical theatre, then led me to asking, do I want to do that anymore at all? Should I be doing something else? And if the answer to that is yes, then I don't need to be living in London anymore. So then the next question is, do I move? I was having all these like existential, big life questions that were plaguing me every day, while also having enough work to do for two people. And yeah, I just didn't know what to do with myself anymore. So I started looking into like yoga retreats, mindfulness retreats, just something that would give me space to get away from all of the stuff that I had built up for myself here and look inward. And I ended up booking myself a place on a mindfulness retreat. And I went in with all the big questions that I just spoke about and came out with many unexpected answers to completely different questions. And so if you are in a similar place where I was a few months ago, and you are looking at your life through this really like scary existential lens of, am I wasting my time? Then I hope that what I'm going to share next is helpful to you? Because I realized that going on a retreat, taking time off in that way and spending money to go away, to travel, to be away from work, to be away from home and family is a huge privilege. But the things that I learned and the clarity that I gained are not subject to privilege. They're things that I think anyone can apply. I blocked all of my social media for the week. Actually, I got my partner to block all of my apps for the week. And not having social media, not spending any time scrolling. The only apps I had access to were messages, like actual messages, not WhatsApp, and my phone, and like weather and maps and Safari. But as soon as I just like, if I went on Safari and typed in Instagram.com, it wouldn't let me. And that was actually great. I loved it so much. I never thought I would. I really didn't think I would. I guess I would have said before that week that I enjoyed like staying up to date with what's going on, and I need social media for casting calls and stuff gets shared, whatever. And I actually really loved not being on there. And I realized through that week that I actually don't give a damn what people are up to. If they're people that I care about, if they're my friends, I'll know what they're up to because I'll see them and we'll talk to each other. And if they're not people that I hang out with in everyday life, if they're not people that I want to and choose to spend my actual time with, I actually don't give a crap, like genuinely. So that helped, realizing that. That was number one. Number two was that I had kind of unlearned or forgotten how to be with myself, how to be bored, how to just do nothing. Most of the days during that retreat, we had, group sessions, yoga, where there was program, but also everyone got 2 afternoons off and just to themselves. And other people were still having like one-on-one therapies. So you only had the afternoon off with one other person. And we were such a great group in terms of giving each other space and time to work on our own that I knew the afternoon off was gonna be just me by myself. And because I had gotten so used to stuffing my days full of more things than I could reasonably accomplish, they're like the never-ending to-do lists, the prospect of an entire afternoon off with nothing to do terrified me. And I went into that afternoon thinking, oh God, what am I gonna do? What am I going to do with this afternoon? As though it was torture. And I went into it, we finished, it was a late breakfast that finished at I think 11. Finished breakfast, had like another cup of coffee with someone else on the retreat, and then was like, you know what, I'm going to wash my hair now. I needed a wash, so I went and washed my hair. That took, I don't know, half an hour. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna sit and journal for a bit. I sat down, I started writing, and the next time I looked at the clock, an hour had passed. And I thought, this isn't so bad. That's an hour and a half of the 5 hours gone already. And from then on, the rest of the afternoon, I spent knitting, listening to a podcast, went outside for a bit, took some pictures of the sheep and the goats that were in the fields. I genuinely didn't do all that much, but it put into perspective for me how little time an afternoon actually is. I don't think I'm alone in this. I didn't give myself the time, the space, the breath in my everyday life to get bored, ever, and to actually have to sit there and ask myself, what do I feel like doing? Not what is in front of me, right? I can always reach for my phone and go on social media. I can always turn on my laptop and watch YouTube or turn on the TV and watch Netflix. There's so much stuff that we can engage with through screens, but we don't give ourselves the space and the time to actually get bored and do nothing and just be with ourselves. And I realized how important that was for my mental health, for me experiencing life, for me just getting to know myself. I think it needs that. You need the opportunity to ask yourself, what do I actually feel like doing in order to know who you are, really? And giving myself time to, it doesn't have to be meditation. Meditation's great, but if meditation's not your jam, it can literally just be sitting and staring out the window and being with your thoughts. No music, no whatever your comfort TV show is in the background, no scrolling your phone, just you by yourself. And just see what comes up. And that 5-10 minutes a day, I think all of us can do. You can make time for that if you want to. And you might uncover that, I don't know, you've always wanted to learn to ice skate, or you want to move your body again more, or you want to listen to music again more. At some point, the thing will pop up where you're like, oh, I used to enjoy that. When did I stop doing that? That's kind of just how it continued. I don't need to unravel every single revelation that I had during that retreat, but I learned so many smaller things, I'd say, than the questions that I went into that retreat with. I went in asking and looking for purpose, fundamentally like my life's purpose, which is, I think, as big as a question can get. Like, that's huge. And no, I didn't find my life's purpose in the span of a week. I think that doesn't even need to be said. Obviously, that is too tall an order. But I did find many small steps back to myself and back to a sense of calm, a sense of being grounded in who I am and how I spend my time, and a completely different sense of awareness and presence in life. What I realized is that all of these smaller things were robbing me of much happiness. You know, I have a great partnership, I have a cozy home, I have a stable income, I've got lovely friends. There's a lot of stuff that's great. And I wasn't fully experiencing any of that stuff or letting myself enjoy it because I had built up this big thing in my head as my life's purpose, and because that wasn't going the way that I wanted it to, that meant that I was wasting my time somehow, or my life was worth less in the whole scheme of things because I wasn't accomplished in the career I had chosen. And in hindsight now, and with all of the stuff that I learned, that's so silly. That's so silly. I don't know how else to say it. It's just kind of dumb. That I was stealing all of this life experience and happiness of myself. And here's the thing, because I wasn't present in my everyday life, because my head was always with what was going on social media, or the to-do list in the back of my head, or the unhappiness that I was busying myself with, and all of the tasks that I was stuffing my life full with in order to escape from that, I wasn't experiencing the thing that's happening right now, right here in front of me. And so what had happened was I would look back on 2023, 2022, 2021 even, and feel like nothing had happened to me. And I would have to actively sit down and write down the good things that happened, write down the parties I went to and the good dates I had with my partner and the family events that I went to and all of the outings that I had with friends where I laughed and all of the good stuff that life consists of. I had not fully experienced them with 100% of my attention, and so it only makes sense that my brain as a result hasn't formed the memory 100%. It's like I wasn't quite there myself. And I had this sense of I'm wasting my life because I'm not accomplishing the things I want to accomplish, when in reality, I was wasting my life because I wasn't present for it. I wasted so much time being stuck in my brain, in my unhappy loop, that I wasn't really present for the stuff that was happening. And most of it was great stuff that I was I was stealing those experiences from myself. And so that brings me to the other end of this, right? I'm coming back home. I don't have the answers to the huge questions that I went in with. But what I do have is a sense of it's not all as serious as I made it out to be. You know, at the end of the day, nobody except me really cares whether I make it in musical theatre. Heck, many people hate musical theatre, right? Like, if I turned around tomorrow and said I want to do something completely different, I genuinely don't think any of my friends, any of my family would actually give a shit as long as I'm healthy and happy. My personal challenge going forward from here is sustainably and fully integrating the clarity that I've gained into my everyday. And that is a challenge because life in the society that we've built and that we live in moves at a certain pace. And in order to be part of that, you kind of have to be connected to an extent, right? You need to have email. It helps if you have WhatsApp. It helps if you have certain social media platforms to stay connected to people. And kind of regardless of whether you have a corporate job where someone else sets the pace for you and you have to tick off tasks for the day, or you're a self-employed person where you create your own structure, there is still a certain pace that is expected of us. And it's hard to escape that. But what we can do is decide the pace that we want for our free time and set boundaries for ourselves. My boundary now is I don't allow myself more than half an hour a day on all social media apps. And actually most days I don't get to the 30 minutes where my phone then blocks them. I'm now happily only on social media for like 15 minutes a day. I have, for myself, integrated a morning practice now. So I do 20-25 minutes of yoga, followed by 5 to 10 minutes of meditation. Sometimes I'll feel like sitting in silence. Sometimes, most times actually, it needs to be a guided meditation because my thoughts are so like, that if I try to sit in silence most days, I'll just go follow off the thought and then think about something else instead of trying to be present and here and now and focusing on your body and your breath and letting stuff go. I find that easier with a guided meditation. But whatever it is for you, it doesn't have to be either of those things. They're just the things I found for myself. If I get up in the morning and I move my body and I calm my mind before I do anything else, rather than rolling out of bed and going straight to work, which I think is tempting when you work from home, and even more tempting when you set your own work times, is to A, keep procrastinating, B, stay in bed. I really struggle getting out of bed in general. I would say I love to sleep, but I think that's a lie. I think actually me staying in bed and sleeping for as long as I can is a kind of coping mechanism / avoidance behavior of trying not to have to engage with the stuff that I don't enjoy or the things that are making me unhappy, and I'm trying to snap out of that. So getting up and getting on my yoga mat and knowing that I will feel better after moving my body. I feel happier, more balanced, healthier and calmer and more ready to tackle to-dos without getting overwhelmed or stressed out after I've moved my body. Yoga, meditation before I do anything else. Then I eat something, because what I also realized is that a lot of the time when I think I'm unhappy, I'm actually just hungry, which sounds so basic. And I guess it is. I guess there's a lesson to be learned in that. I was so out of tune with what my body wanted and needed that I mistook hunger for depression. Then I get to work, right? Then I set out my plan. I make sure to take breaks throughout the day because, again, it's tempting to just sit down, get to work, and just power through until the day is over or until the task is done or whatever it is. And actually, again, I realized that I feel more balanced and more happy when I set myself times. An hour and a half of a work block, and then when that hour and a half is over, I take a break. An actual break, a break away from screens and phones, away from work. You know, I might do a little bit of household stuff, but I also just might sit down, journal, listen to some music. I have set myself business hours for my self-employed stuff. All of my emails have signatures in them that specify my business hours now. I have out of office automated responses for outside of my business hours, so that anyone getting in touch with me outside of those hours will get a response, but I don't have to actively sit down and write it. I can engage with that the next morning. And I'm doing the same with WhatsApp. I've turned off my notifications with my friends because I now actively decide when I want to go on WhatsApp. I don't do that reflexively when I see I get a notification and immediately grab my phone, because that is not something that makes me happy. That is something that makes me feel overwhelmed and just makes me feel like I'm being pulled in 1,000 different directions and I'm giving more of myself than I have to give. Doing one thing at a time and focusing on that one thing that's in front of me works for me. Works for my mental health, works for my inner balance and my happiness, and my also just actually enjoying my life. And maybe that sounds really basic, but nowadays I think we've forgotten how to do that. We've forgotten how to do one thing at a time. Try just doing one thing at a time and see where it takes you. I guess what I do have a part answer to one of the big questions. The question being, do I stop pursuing musical theatre? My answer for now is no, but I want it to just be one of the many things that I do. I don't want to look at my life anymore and focus on that one thing that's not going the way I want it to. And yeah, our careers are a big part of who we are and we make them part of our identity, and I think it will continue to be part of my identity. But honestly, before it was like 80% of how I saw myself. And I know that I and all of us are so much more than our jobs. And I refuse to see myself that way anymore. I want my pursuit of musical theatre to just be one of the many things that I do and that I am, and to not have more weight than any of the other things. I want to make more grounded, more considered choices. I want to put my happiness before that, because I also don't think that putting anything above what balances you and what gives you joy and contentment is worth it in the long run. Might make you happy for like a minute and then you're on to chasing the next thing. So I've decided I don't want to live my life that way anymore. Implementing that in my everyday is a challenge and is an ongoing work in progress, but it's worth it because I feel different and I want to continue feeling different. Long story, short sense, as we would say in German. That is, in a nutshell, what I've been going through over the past months, but also years, depending on how you look at it. If you have experiences with burnout, if you have anything to share that helped you, feel free to leave a comment. And if you're still here watching this, thank you so much. I will see you for Extra Extra soon, or for the next one of these if Extra Extra isn't your jam. I hope you like this video and decide to subscribe to my channel, and yeah, see you soon.